In this video, I'll be ranking every Arctic Monkey song from worst all the way up to best, all 70 of their studio songs. I'm only going to use the songs on their albums and not any like hidden or bonus tracks either. So let's start off with the worst group of songs. I consider this D tier. Coming in at number 70, the worst Arctic Monkey song to date, I consider number 70 the worst, Golden Trunks. This is off their newest album, and I don't understand what they were thinking with like the guitar tone. That's like a horrible distortion fuzz. It just sounds really bad. Next up, I Want It All off AM. I hate the guitar solo especially, and the vocals, like the backup vocals, I really don't like. Up next, the world's first monster truck flip. This song sounds like a bad musical number, which I'm not really sure what they were even going for here. Up next, the fourth worst song, Potion Approaching. This one, I don't even know what to say in it. I don't like any part of it, and the tempo changes in the main riff I don't like at all. Up next, Bat Phone. I personally don't like the synth sounds or any sound choices they used in this. I just don't like it in general. After Bat Phone, I have Science Fiction as the next worst. It just doesn't go anywhere for me, and it doesn't have very like memorable parts. And the last of the D tier, this might be controversial too, I have Brick by Brick from Suck It and See. This one, I don't like the sing-along parts, I don't like the riffs, I don't like anything about it. Up next are my C tier songs, which are okay, but if they come up on my phone, I will just go to the next song and shuffle through it. So starting off the C tier list, I have Fire and the Thud. I think they tried too hard to sound like sultry and cool, and it just doesn't come off very interesting to me. Up next, I have All My Own Stunts. It's kind of a weird chord progression, which I like, but the rest I just could leave it. I'm not a big fan. Next up, this might be the most controversial one so far. I have Snap Out of It. I don't understand how this has 100 million views on YouTube almost. To me, it just sounds like a bad musical number, and I don't really like the style of it and kind of where they went. Up next is a very frustrating one, is She Looks Like Fun. It's frustrating because there are some really great parts in it. Like, I wish they would let it ride out with the slower kind of melodic verses, because at a certain time, it almost kind of sounds like Beatles or Pink Floyd-ish, and I really like it. It sounds very retro and like old school. But then it just gets interrupted way too often by that kind of like chorus riff. Next up on the list, I Wanna Be Yours. The just general feel of it is a little too dreary. I'm never in the headspace to want to listen to this song. Up next, I have the first song in this list that will be featured from their first album, and it's Perhaps Vampires is a bit strong, but I think it suffers mainly from the production quality, if that makes sense. Like the guitars sound kind of like weak and not beefy, and it kind of just goes nowhere, and then the ending kind of just devolves into chaos. Up next is The Jeweler's Hands. I don't have really much to say about it. It's just kind of solid, but it just doesn't really build. Next is the second song I have in this list from their first album, and it's You Probably Couldn't See for the Lights, blah, 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 blah. This one, I just don't like the vocals by Matt. I think it's Matt, their drummer, he's singing the vocals, and I really just don't like it. Up next is Red Light Indicates Doors Are Secured. It's definitely unique sounding to the album, but what really kills it for me is the weird, terrible guitar solo towards the end. It just sounds like really dissonant and like random, and that's why I have it so low on this list. Up next, I have Dangerous Animals. Not very memorable parts. Not terrible, but just not something I'd go out of my way to listen to. Up next, this one might be controversial as well. I have Don't Sit Down Because I Moved Your Chair. I actually enjoy most of the song, except for, oddly enough, the chorus. The ooh part, I don't like that. All right, I think this next one will be probably the most controversial of this category. I have Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino. This song I think is pretty well written. It's pretty good. The only thing I don't like is really the production quality. I don't like the choices they made in kind of like the synth and like the sequencer kind of sound effects that sound like chimes or like weird clock sounds. I don't like that. I don't think it really works with the style. I also think the tempo is a little too slow. If it was a little faster, it could be better, I think. Up next, I have Library Pictures. This song's not terrible. I actually enjoy the frantic tempo changes. I just don't like the subject matter and the lyrics. I don't really relate to it in any way. Up next, I have D is for Dangerous. The song's not terrible. It's not bad. It's pretty solid. It's just kind of forgettable to me. Up next, I have That's Where You're Wrong. And I do like how it sounds kind of like The Killers almost. And it sounds very summery, and it's just not the most creative song in the world. It's not terrible. And finally, the final song I have in the C tier list is This House is a Circus. I actually kind of enjoy playing this like on either guitar or drums or whatever, but there's just so many better options to listen to, in my opinion, of like faster songs if I want to get into that kind of mood. So, all right, we're now into the B tier list. I think these songs are fine. Starting off the B tier list, I have Mad Sounds, which is a good song. All these songs from here on out, I like. I don't think there's too many bad songs that they even have. Mad Sounds is a bit cheesy, but it's pretty solid, and I like, it's like a glockenspiel sound at the end. It sounds very kind of like reminiscent, very interesting. Definitely a throwback kind of sound though. Up next is Still Take You Home. The first album has a lot of these songs that sound similar. They kind of follow like a similar cadence and structure. And this one, I really like the guitar solo, so that's a plus for this. Up next, I have If You Were There, Beware. The only part I don't like is the outro that sounds like a creepy circus. Next up, I have From the Ritz to the Rubble. But this one I like because it kind of builds throughout the song, which I think is pretty cool. Up next, I have Fireside. I love how it starts off with the acoustic and like the drums. And it has a really unique guitar solo, which I think some other person outside of the band wrote or plays. There's a lot of cool live versions of the song. Next up, this might be controversial as well, but I'm not trying to be controversial. One for the Road. I like it. The only thing I get annoyed by is the falsetto like backup vocals. Those get kind of annoying. Like to me, they should have used it like half as much as they did in the song. Next, I have Old Yellow Bricks. I think the different sections really blend together seamlessly through this song. Next up, The Bad Thing. The only part I don't like is the chorus, like the intro and the chorus, that repeated line. I do love the ending though, that last vocal line. Next up, I have American Sports. I really like this the first couple times I listened to it, but the more and more I listen to it, the more it kind of just gets forgettable, and it's okay. This one, Only Ones Who Know. I would probably like this one a lot more, and it'd probably be ranked higher if it wasn't for Suck It and See. That whole album has like some great ballads. Next up, I have Dancing Shoes. Really up-tempo, fun to play, fun to listen to, fun to sing along with. Just a great party song in general. Next up, I think it's an underrated song, The Hellcat Spangled Sha-La-La-La. I have no idea what the song is about still to this day, even though I've heard it many times. One of my favorite underrated ones, I should say. Next up, I have Number One Party Anthem. If it wasn't for the Ultra Cheese, I would have this higher, but the Ultra Cheese kicks this one down a little bit, sorry. All right, next up will be I Bet You Look Good on the Dance Floor. It's not super catchy to me though. I don't find myself like getting this stuck in my head, but it's definitely cool. I mean, it's a sweet jam. I really like playing it. That's like my favorite part. And finally, the last song on the B tier list, I have Reckless Serenade. Reckless Serenade definitely showcases Alex's like vocal range. I like that a lot. The only thing is there are like 3 other awesome love songs from Suck It and See. So this one naturally had to go lower on the list. All right, so now we're in the A tier list. These I find quite good. So coming in first here in the A tier list, I have Pretty Visitors. This song was definitely elevated because I saw them perform this live in like 2013. I love like how dirty and sludgy it sounds. It's very heavy sounding, and it has a lot of awesome like harmonic minor riffs that are really cool. Next up is Pile Driver Waltz. I had to knock it down a couple notches because it was first debuted with his kind of like submarine stuff. I really love the outro, how it has that like awesome guitar riff. I'm a sucker for melodies, so this one is the perfect melody song. Next up, I have The View from the Afternoon. Not sure what else I can say to this. The opening song of their first album. It's a classic. Next, I have another one from the first album, Fake Tales of San Francisco. I really liked this the first time I heard it, and I find I listen to it more and more. I still love it every time. And I really wish I could hear it live. I haven't heard this live before, but I think it'd be cool. Next, I have an underrated song, Balaclava. This one has some sweet vocal parts, especially the crooks and the crime part. It's super fun to play along with, and it like really builds in the middle and has some cool like dropout moments. Next up, Dance Little Liar. I love the fuzz in this. I love how it builds. The drum beat is so cool and simple, especially like at the end. I love how it just like kind of trails out. Next up, I might have this higher than most, but I have Black Treacle. It sounds so retro. The vocals definitely elevate it. Like Alex's performance is really cool. It's like kind of loose feeling, and I really enjoy how he kind of phrases it. It like puts me in a good mood every time I hear it. Next up in my A tier list, I have Why'd You Only Call Me When You're High. I really like the hip hop kind of influence. The music video is awesome. Good song. I just kind of overplayed it for myself, so maybe I'm a little biased, but it's a great one. Up next, I have Teddy Picker, which I love this song. Teddy Picker is one of my favorite of their faster tempo songs. It's very energetic, fun to play. So many cool parts from the drums and the guitars. The guitar solo is awesome, which I featured in my favorite guitar solos from them. It's so cool. Next up, I have Do Me a Favor. This one really builds, and it's an awesome example of like storytelling as you go through, and it climaxes with the final vocal part. It's great. The perfect end to a great song. Next up, I have Riot Van. I have a cover of it that I did like when I first got my drums. That was like the first thing I wanted to play just because it's so like chill and relaxed. This one, I have Arabella. Unfortunately, this one was a casualty also of just better ones that had to knock it down. I see people like reference Arabella and tattoos and stuff with it. The War Pigs thing they do live is awesome. I love the production and the guitar solo. It's all perfect. Just couldn't make it to my S tier list. Just missed out. And the one song that missed out on my S tier by like this much, I had it originally and I had to kick it out. 1 Point Perspective. This is like an example of how to use piano and effects like perfectly with like their guitars and drums that already like are in their sound. Not to mention that it has one of my favorite guitar solos in it too at the end. All right, starting off the S tier list, I consider this tier, if I showed this to anybody that like kind of in any way liked rock-ish music, they would definitely like these songs and latch on to, and I think they appeal to most people. But to kick it off, I have When the Sun Goes Down. If you watch the Glastonbury, or however you say that word, performance of it, like the live one that's really popular, that one is so cool and like energetic. It's cool how it kind of starts with that like major key and then flips just to minor of the same root. I have like really great memories like listening to this, I guess, so maybe I'm nostalgic for it, I don't know. But the intro and outro are perfect. The middle section's fun, energetic, and fast and cool. S tier for sure. Coming in at number 18, I have Knee Socks. In my opinion, one of their best choruses, and I love the background falsetto vocals on this one in particular. Next up, I have my favorite fast Arctic Monkey song, Brian Storm. This is like the poster child for like the frantic, fast Arctic Monkey sounds. Such a classic. Next up, I have My Propeller. I think this riff is like genius. It's catchy, it's unique, it has that kind of spy sound, and it kind of sounds like the last Shadow Puppet-y a little bit, I don't know. At number 15, I have Suck It and See. I think the lyrics are just really, really good, and it's one of the catchiest melodies. And my favorite thing about all these ballads is they could just do like the chords, you know? This one actually does kind of start off with the chords, but they always incorporate, like Jamie always plays like the awesome high melodic stuff that really complements the chords. And then Matt always has some interesting drum beats, never just like a basic straightforward thing, which is why I love all these ballads so much. Next up, I have Crying Lightning. This one I wish was higher, I just couldn't fit as many things in here. There's like 20 songs that I wanted to put in the top 10 and I couldn't. Awesome song, awesome effects, cool solo, gets me excited every time. Next up, I have Star Treatment, maybe one of the best opening songs of an album I've heard. It really sets the tone. Like I remember when I first bought the album from Target, like when I first put it on and I heard that, I was like, oh, thank God. Like they have a great idea for this album. It's unique, it's ritzy, it's glamorous sounding. I also really like the jazz drum like fills that just sound like do-do-do-do. Next up, we have the Ultra Cheese. Unlike, I mean, how Star Treatment was the perfect opener, I think the Ultra Cheese is like the perfect closer for an album. It really puts a nice bookend on the album. The Ultra Cheese is like the perfect nostalgic ballad. It makes me like sad, but like kind of in a good way. Very heartfelt, very emotional, and a great send-off on that album. And then coming in just outside the top 10, I had to drop it, Fluorescent Adolescent. It's a classic, I know. Great riffs. The only reason I knocked it down is just maybe because I'm a little sick of it, but I'll probably say that about a couple more coming up. Probably their most classic song, honestly, and the music video is great. Also, surprisingly heartfelt lyrics. All right, so now we're in the top 10. Number 10, I have She's Thunderstorms. It's great metaphors, great lyrics, super catchy. It has an interesting bridge too, which is a big plus for me. Number 9 is a casualty of overplaying for me personally. I have Are You Mine? I think this is like one of the best riffs. I know I've said that a couple times, but this is like the essential riff that they have. It's like the perfect rock song. How could you not like this? Coming out at number 8, I have 4 out of 5. I just think this is the best song from their newest album. It's just a great blend of kind of everything that was just working with the album. Very memorable melody, super catchy. I remember like I was like hearing the melody in my head like after like the second time I heard it. That's how catchy it was to me. Coming at number 7 is another awesome closer, one of my favorites, A Certain Romance. This is like a perfect song to hear live. I love the different sections. I love the subject matter, kind of what the song is about. I love like the cool like offbeat syncopated guitar chords along with the melodies. It's just a really well-paced song, well-made sections that seamlessly go together. Coming in at number 6 is one I just personally have always really liked. I think their best song off their first album, Marty Bum. It's very youthful and charming. It's just like such a classic song of theirs. All right, we only have 5 spots left in this top 70 list. Coming in at number 5, I have this song pretty high, and I know a lot of people might not have it as high as I do. Number 5, I have Love is a Laser Quest. To me, this is just like the perfect ballad love song. That amazing section where the drums drop out and it's just the guitars and bass, that like gives me chills every time. And then just like very touching lyrics that are sad and make me like sad, but in like a good way to listen to. Number 4, I have Secret Door. I think the song is like perfect. It's like, it sounds like a Beatles classic, like masterpiece. It's like so unique. The ending gives me chills every time. It's super touching, and it introduces that melody at the beginning, and then it comes back in later and like kind of recaps it in like a really unique and like touching way. The melodies are awesome, and the ending, I mean, you have to hear the ending, and it's just so good. All right, coming in at number 3, 505. I don't really even need to say much about this. Everyone knows how great this is. And that like part where it cuts out and the vocals come in, like, it's so awesome. I don't really know what else to say. All right, number 2, I'm gonna get some flack for this, I know, but Do I Want to Know has to be like at least in the top 3. I know it's overplayed. I know you're probably sick of hearing it, sick of seeing it in commercials, but this one just has to be like 1, 2, or 3 to me. The first time I heard it, I like couldn't believe what I was hearing. Like, it was just like the catchiest riff I've ever heard in my life. And I'm just like, can't believe that someone like came up with this. It's so good. Like, I think it will just stand the test of time, basically, of just how great of a song it is. Number 1, the best Arctic Monkey song in my opinion is Cornerstone. This is just like one of the best songs I've ever heard in general. Every section of it is so perfect. And the songwriting and the performance and the progression of just the song in general. I don't know, there's something about the song is just, it's like perfect to me. And it's like, this was just the clear-cut number 1 song in my opinion that they have. It's just so awesome. All right, so that concludes my ranking of all 70 Arctic Monkeys studio songs. I hope you guys like this. Comment below which ones you think were controversial or in the wrong spot, too high, too low, overrated or underrated. I'd like to hear that. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys next time.